have confidence, nor would I have loved going into the 2025 season with the idea that in 2026 you're relying on Damian Lillard off of ruptured Achilles in his mid-30s to be a championship team. So is this the end of what they need to do to become a championship team? No, but is this the start of getting younger? I mean, they've added more pieces. Gary Harris is a good
nice.
He shot about 40% I believe 2 years ago when he was with the Nuggets. And so a spot in which we talked about this all the time. What does Giannis need to be successful? We saw what Giannis was able to do heading into the playoffs without Damian Lillard. He was an absolute monster. Triple doubles, owning the court. It's all about what you can put around Giannis. And Myles Turner is a stretch five. He is younger than Brook Lopez. He has a great potential to fit in with what the Bucks will attempt to do. He's not going to be Brook Lopez. He doesn't gobble up a ton of rebounds, but you need a piece like that to stretch the floor with some size. He's 6'11". It is the perfect guy you bring in when everyone knew you're going to move on from Brook. They re-signed Jericho Sims, but I wasn't going to sit here and say, yeah, 2025-26 season, we're going in here with Jericho Sims. This is moving us in the right direction. So when you sign Myles Turner for 4 years, you re-sign Gary Trent on a one-year, $7 million deal, who I think is going to be a great role player and a stretch the floor type of guy. We saw the big shots that he had. Unfortunately, the ball went through his legs on a bad pass from Adrian. We don't need to relive that in the Pacers series. These are all moves that if I'm Giannis, who I know is in Greece right now, forget Chris Haynes' report. Giannis has to be happy with what John Horst has done, because you could have felt a little bit scared over the first 18 to 24 hours, 18 hours of free agency, thinking, what are we doing? We're sitting on our hands. There was a lot of misinformation about the Bucks being a second apron team, limiting their ability to go out in free agency and get players to bolster up the roster. Because they traded Chris Middleton when they did, nobody's celebrating the fact that Kyle Kuzma's still on the roster, but it opened up opportunity to build forward, and they're building forward. I miss Drew Holiday, right? It was a great run, but at this point, they need to, the only missing link here right now for the Bucks is a point guard.
Bingo.
They need a point guard. But this is exactly what you want if you're a Bucks fan. Excitement in free agency, because if Bucks fans are feeling this excitement, Giannis is feeling that excitement. And for all the times we've laughed at the nonsense that's been going on all around every TV station, every stupid Twitter account that's trying to click farm and get engagement, it's done. It's absolutely done. Giannis is a Milwaukee Buck. John Horst continues to swing. You got to give some credit to John Horst.
Big time.
Because everyone had doubts. They extended John Horst. I was one of them. I'm not going to lie. I was like, extending John Horst? I've never seen him have to rebuild, right? He was in a spot where he did the trade in the middle of the season last year and opened up opportunities to make moves to rebuild a roster with Giannis for this next iteration of hopefully what is longer than 2 years left on his contract, but proving to him, we're going to do everything to provide you what you need to win another championship, which you made very clear on the Finales show with his brother, that it is your next goal in your NBA career.
That's Ben Brust, Alex Strouf with you, reacting to all the Bucks free agency madness, free agency frenzy here on ESPN Wisconsin, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee and ESPN Madison on YouTube. So a couple takeaways from everything you just said there, Benny. Really good rant by you, because I think...
It's not a rant. That's just information and knowledge.
A good rave by you, a good diatribe,
I'm not yelling at anybody.
I think you're yelling at Bucks fans in a positive way.
Yes.
I think it's a good yell.
Yes.
It's like a motivational yell. And so here are two things I want to take away from everything you just said. Number one, the John Horst piece. I think it's so important to acknowledge everything he's done during his tenure as a general manager of the Bucks. Sure, he hasn't been the greatest drafter in the world. We can acknowledge that. But
sure, but I also think he should get a little bit of a pass with where they draft.
Correct, and I agree with that. Right, late round picks are hit and miss all the time. It's just been more misses, and that's okay, because guess what? You have one of the greatest players in the world in Giannis Antetokounmpo, if not the greatest player in the world, and you are capitalizing on his prime. when you think back to the past, let's go 5 seasons, every swing that John Horst has taken is a swing that every general manager in professional sports would take, right? Think back to 2020 when they acquired Drew Holiday. That ultimately wound up in a championship. A couple of years ago when they swung at Damian Lillard. I think if you ask John Horst right now after he waives Damian Lillard and that era comes to an end after 2 seasons, if he would take that swing again, 10 out of times he'd say yes.
Yes.
And you just mentioned the midseason trade. Chris Middleton goes out. They bring in Kyle Kuzma. And sure, it didn't look super pretty down the stretch last season. But to your point, it was to get under the second apron, and it was to allow for flexibility to make moves like they have in the last 18 hours. And so all credit goes to John Horst. The guy knows what the hell he's doing. And I think anybody that had doubts about John Horst's legitimacy as a general manager in the NBA and his legitimacy in building a title contender, well, I think you could throw those doubts in the trash now because I think he's proven he's capable of that. The other part of this is, we talked all offseason. You reference it as nonsense, which I love. When you reference it as nonsense, we talked, how do you make the pitch to Giannis? And I think a lot of us were fine with the pitch of, well, yeah, it's going to be a gap year. It's going to be a year where Giannis can go out and have fun playing basketball, and he can win his 3rd MVP, and he can put up career numbers. Yeah, it sure was.
That's not how you treat a top 5, if not top 2 NBA player in the world.
Absolutely. It's just like throwing your bad John Horst opinions in the trash. You could throw the gap year conversations in the trash because this Myles Turner move signals that this team is back in title contention in a wide-open Eastern Conference, right? No Jason Tatum, no Tyrese Halliburton, obviously no Damian Lillard, but he's going to spend the season rehabbing and then will be a true free agent next season. This is an open Eastern Conference. There's still good teams. Don't get me wrong. Cleveland's still going to be good. Boston will still be good even without Jason Tatum. Orlando's geared up for a legitimate push.
I like what the Hawks have done.
I also like what the Hawks have done. Good point by you. But I think the Bucks have now catapulted themselves right back into the title contention conversation, which is huge because I think 18 hours ago even, we were still open to the idea that this could be a quote-unquote gap year.
And I'm glad you mentioned what this means for the landscape of the overall NBA and specifically the Eastern Conference, right? Because a lot of the times that we looked at, all right, well, Tatum and Halliburton, the Pacers who went to back-to-back Eastern Conference finals don't have Halliburton and have just let go of a piece who walked, who they didn't obviously sign, who had been there for 10 years. Great coach in Rick Carlisle, but there's no way with how they're constructed that they can replicate what they've done the last 2 seasons. And part of the reason why is when your best player, who's not a Giannis Antetokounmpo type, in Tyrese Halliburton goes down, you just don't have enough horses to continue to do what you've done. So you can, I don't want to say eliminate. I mean, it's still a very wide open East, and free agency isn't done. We haven't even mentioned the fact that Pat Connaughton was traded. Pat Connaughton was traded for a player that is they're saving $1.3 million on the player they traded for, that I'm going to leave his name for you.
Vasilija Micic.
Who's going back over to Europe. It's essentially an open roster spot for the Bucks to continue to try and build with pieces and offers that they have to Ryan Hollins, that they have a qualifying offer out there for. I mean, when you think about the offseason and you think about like very early on, it was Kevin Porter Jr., Taurean Prince, and Gary Trent. You're like, it very much felt like, the Bucks are just doing the run it back thing. Then you can look at now what they've added. They've added Myles Turner, and they've added Gary Harris. And they moved on from a bad contract and a player that was not going to contribute in Pat Connaughton and opened up a roster spot to fill. I don't know if that's going to be Thanasis Antetokounmpo. We'll see. But my overall point is they have put themselves in 2025 to be in the conversation, not just like we went from, hey, this team cannot be a play-in team to this team needs to be a 3 or 4 seed to give themselves a shot to make a run when you have the greatest player on the planet who I'm excited for. I have such high expectations for Giannis. Maybe unfair based off what he did the last portion of the season without Damian Lillard, but he did it without Damian Lillard and a group in which they had a lot of pieces that they just added more pieces to this team for him to be more successful with. A stretch 5 who's a shooter, who's younger, who can get up and down the court a little bit faster. we knock on your athletic ability. It'd be fun to watch you, Alex Strouf, go a 40-yard dash against Brook Lopez because he moves.
I think I might have that one.
No, I don't think you do, but I just want to point out, like, he's aging, but they got younger there. Gary Harris, a good refresh, reset. We saw Gary Trent, what he was able to do. They added shooters around him, and this feels like a Giannis-type season where he can not put the team on his back, but simply show each and every year how he's able to adapt to whatever team he has and continue to show his greatness.
Benny Buckets, Benny Brust, myself, Alex Strouf, hanging out with you. Ben Brust going to hang with me for about another 15 minutes. We've got a stacked guest lineup for you as well, as we're with you until 2 o'clock on our breaking news coverage here on ESPN Wisconsin. Gabe Neitzel going to join us from a sunny golf course at about 12:30 once Ben departs. We will talk to ESPN's Tim Bontemps at 12:45 on everything the Bucks have been getting into. And Evan Cohen of ESPN Radio's Unsportsmanlike will join me at 1:30 this afternoon, breaking down all things Milwaukee Bucks. More reaction. Myles Turner in. Damian Lillard out. The Milwaukee Bucks very active in the first 18 hours of NBA free agency.
Point guard somehow.
Chris Paul's coming to Milwaukee. That's not news. That's just my prediction. More of this.
I was going to say, Shams?
I could be. More of this with Ben Brust coming up right after this. ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. With Wilde and Tausch, you won't miss a play.
Favre, Rodgers, Love, great player, great player, great player. If you're in the crowd that believes he is going to be on par with those other two, then this is a pivotal year for him to show that he is capable of doing that.
Presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
There's a difference between we can win with him and we win because of him.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Evan Cohen here. Whether you're locking in your home run picks or riding with your favorite golfers this summer, ESPN Bet is your sportsbook for all the action. Go from checking stats on your favorite teams and players to placing bets in just a few taps. Plus, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet app and sign up with promo code USL to get started today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
Adam Schefter here for Vivid Seats, your ultimate destination for all your sports and concert needs this summer. With a game-changing rewards program and an unbeatable selection of tickets, they make it easy for every fan to watch their favorite teams and players in action. Catch every home run and thrilling comeback in person from your favorite seat. Plus, every ticket is backed by a 100% buyer guarantee, giving you peace of mind with every purchase. Visit VividSeats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, the official ticketing partner of ESPN.
The pulse of the Milwaukee Bucks, straight from a Bucks legend.
Can't get it off. Marcus Johnson will, though. Can't leave him alone for a 12.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson on Bucks Plus. Marcus and his son Chris offer a weekly beat on Bucks basketball. Get your questions answered and hear from the biggest names in basketball. Find Here District with Marcus Johnson at bucks.com/plus on the Bucks app or wherever you get your podcasts.
What we love about our ability to help patients at QC Kinetics is seeing their pure delight at finally being able to do the things they enjoy without pain.
I had a patient start treatment with me. He wanted to be able to be active again and do some of his sports that he really enjoyed.
Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Milwaukee's medical director for QC Kinetics, treats patients with chronic joint pain using their body's own biologics. The goal? Get them back to living their best lives without surgery or harmful drugs.
He came back and he goes, what I wasn't expecting was the ability to play on the floor with my grandchildren. Even just saying it now, I have goosebumps because it's changing those small moments that you take for granted.
Don't let joint pain rob you of those moments. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
It just warms my heart to be able to help people live the life they want to live and get those small moments back.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
With a dedicated Milwaukee team, Fifth Third Bank knows what success looks like. For 15 years, we've been serving businesses, organizations, and individuals in the area with a long-standing commitment to the healthcare and not-for-profit sectors. Whether it's expansion to commercial payments, Fifth Third offers a full suite of financial services and solutions to navigate your organization's complex needs. Experience the difference with Fifth Third Bank. National Association. Custom solutions built around your goals. Member FDIC.
For over 50 years, Cousins Subs has celebrated and embraced the traditions of their home state of Wisconsin. And now, Cousins will be honoring a Wisconsin tradition like no other with their Pull Tab giveaway promo. Now through July 6th, while supplies last, guests will receive a Cousins Pull Tab with a sub or sub-able purchase for a chance to win Cousins Subs for a year and much more. For additional info and official rules, visit cousinsubs.com/pulltabs. One pull tab per customer per transaction per day. To receive a pull tab with no purchase necessary, see official rules.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have waived All-Star Damian Lillard. Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
ESPN Wisconsin free agency frenzy continues. I'm Alex Strouf. Ben Brust joins me for one more segment. Head of Kyle Brust and Ortman 2 to 5 this afternoon across ESPN Wisconsin. So you said it last segment, and I think we brushed over it because I think it's an opinion a lot of us have had all offseason, and that is Giannis is going nowhere, right? And obviously the moves the past 18 hours indicative that Giannis will be in Milwaukee this season. So RIP to all of those nonsense trade ideas.
No, because Chris Haynes tweeted out that Giannis is upset about Damian Lillard, and now the internet is running with memes of Giannis in different jerseys, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Even when I filmed with our great ESPN Milwaukee correspondent of social media, Madison Hayes.
Correspondent of social media.
Yeah, I mean, it all works.
Continue.
All I was mentioning is you move on from Dame, and if you're Giannis, you have to be smiling. And then the Chris Haynes report came out. Now everyone's like, he's not smiling. He's like, well, get out of my face with this. Chris Haynes, who I respect. Yeah. He's a very, very well-respected journalist, but he does have strong ties to Damian Lillard. And so this was the same conversation we had when Drew Holiday was traded. And you just said, everyone would take the swing for Damian Lillard 10 out of 10, hindsight throwing it in the garbage. Yeah. So at the end of the day, Giannis is going to see the light. And I guarantee he already sees the light with what the Bucks have done to build a younger team with more shooters around him. After moving on from Brook Lopez, the only player left from the 2021 championship after trading Pat Connaughton is Bobby. And so again, this is about building a new core for Giannis to win a second championship.
Yes, it is. So let's just take a look at the conflicting reports for a moment. So Chris Haynes, longtime senior NBA insider, tweeted this. Breaking. Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo is not pleased with the team's decision to waive Damian Lillard. League sources tell me. It's plural, so maybe more than Damian. Shams Charania, however, wrote this in his ESPN.com article about Myles Turner joining the Bucks. Turner and Antetokounmpo both valued the opportunity to partner on the court during the process, sources told ESPN, also plural. With Antetokounmpo considering his future and whether his best fit was with the Bucks moving forward, Milwaukee executives once again make a major move.
It's a source off, but here's the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is, I will say this, and I believe this in my heart of hearts, and I know Bucks fans do too. Damian Lillard, off an Achilles injury, he will not be playing in this season. And if you're trying to win a championship, the best route for the Milwaukee Bucks is to unfortunately waive that money that you are waiving Damian Lillard with down into the future so you can have an opportunity to go get somebody else. Because I don't believe in my heart of hearts and with my basketball brain that coming back off of an Achilles injury at Damian Lillard's age, which would be the 2026-27 season, is a good idea to try and win a championship with. It's just not. So Horst had to make a business decision, despite it probably hurting. I don't know. This is different than baseball, right? No salary cap. We talk about Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, how they defer all that money into the future. This is the NBA. It will likely hit their books. It might put them in a spot that makes them a little bit more vulnerable. But you had to do this to get a piece that you believe could help you as a team win a championship.
Justin on the Carbless Talk and Text line, 800-990-3776. Your way into the show, we'll hear from you in the 1 o'clock hour, 800-990-3776. Justin says, would not be shocked if Giannis portrayed he was sad for his friend and teammate. But obviously Chris spins that as he's mad. They are obsessed. Let it go on Giannis.
For sure. Look, at the end of the day, we know that, like, if you're Dame's guy, you're going to put that out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, Giannis is upset about Dame. Look at how valuable the person I'm close with. I got to have his back in this post.
And look, you could two things could be true, Ben, right? Obviously, you can feel sad that you didn't accomplish what you wanted to with one of the best players ever, and Damian Lillard, right? Top 75 player of all time. But you could also be happy that the window is back open.
And he's not going to play next year.
Right. It's not like you're missing out on brilliant Damian Lillard play in 25-26 because he's not going to play.
And who knows what he looks like the year after,
Correct.
Coming off an Achilles injury.
Another year older, plus off the Achilles
Plus, let's
injury.
not forget, before this season, he was a decoy in the year prior in the
against
playoffs.
the Indiana Pacers, right? Absolutely. Yeah, you're right about that. So I think, all in all, this is brilliant by the Milwaukee Bucks.
We can just say it, John Horst.
John Horst, yeah. And the entire front office. Because, I mean, when we were talking about this even yesterday, Ben, we said, well, this is a really crucial 2 weeks, right? You've got to put, at the very least, you have to put on the act that you're putting together a championship contending team for Giannis if you want him to stay. Because this gap year conversation that we had plenty of, and I think prior to the Myles Turner signing, it was realistic that that's what they were looking at, right? Like yesterday, the first day of free agency, all they did was run it back.
It felt like our gap year conversations were justified until Horst started making these moves, domino after domino, from Myles Turner to Gary Harris to moving on from an expiring contract that no one was going to trade for his expiring contract because he's got zero value other than it being an expiring contract, but I still don't know how you be like, hey, do you want Pat Connaughton? He put a 40 in game 82 when we sat the whole team.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Career high for Pat Connaughton in his, his final regular season game as a Milwaukee Buck. He is out. The name of the man in from Charlotte is Vasilija Micic.
But he's going overseas.
Right. I mean, it's just a move.
It was
get
just
rid of a salary.
To get rid of a salary, you save a little over $1 million, and you open up a roster spot for more opportunity to build around Giannis.
You're calling a shot? That's Thanasis?
I think so.
I think so, too.
I really do.
Josh and Heartland on the Carbless text line, 800-990-3776. List is more with our friends from Carbless. Josh and Heartland says, breaking, Giannis not pleased with the report that he is not pleased. Very good.
Also, here's why Thanasis would be a good thing. Because all the people that were watching Thanasis in the States on the courtside seats at Bucks Arena, I don't think people understand. And they need to really dig deeper to understand. Watch the documentary about Giannis and his journey, not the Disney version, the actual documentary of Giannis's version of how he got to the States and how he became a Milwaukee Buck. Those two are more connected than anybody in this world can maybe even understand, because maybe you had an upbringing that was tough. Times that by selling shoes and jewelry on the street to coming to America and building your life here, that connection with your older brother. We've heard Jeff Teague on podcasts. We've heard everybody on podcasts. Giannis doesn't know how to operate when Thanasis isn't around. He plays better, and he is locked in. From the moment he opens up his eyes, they are texting. They are making sure that the mindset is right. I don't care what a minimum contract is for Thanasis. The value he brings, he's also a phenomenal teammate.
Yeah, he's the most important 12th guy in the NBA.
And I know people can laugh at that. There might be memes that go out when he resigns. I don't care. I am telling you, the value of the greatest player in the world having his brother around on a daily basis is important.
I would agree. Ben Brust, more from you at 2 o'clock on Kyle Brust and Ortman. Thanks, buddy.
Yes, this is a good day.
Yeah, it is a good day. Bobby Bonilla day, by the way.
Damian Lillard day now?
Yeah. Both.
Bonilla.
Whatever. Both deferred contracts.
Shut up, Josh.
Yeah, shut up, Josh. Gabe Neitzel, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, NBA expert, according to ESPN.com, joins me. Coming up next, it's the ESPN Wisconsin free agency frenzy with you across ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have waived All-Star Damian Lillard. Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Kyle Brust and Norman's Ben Brust here for Grimal and Associates Insurance. They do what anyone with a growing family, like myself, does. Protect what matters most. Grimal and Associates specializes in coverage that's tailored exactly to you. Clients aren't just policies. They're part of their community. Personalized American family insurance back service, expert guidance, and genuine commitment. Grimal and Associates focuses on building trusted relationships and providing peace of mind. The same values they've had for over 30 years in the Milwaukee area. Connect with Grimal and Associates at teamgrimal.com.
At Citizens Bank, community banking is you, growing your business with a partner who gets it. It's you, buying your first home with a lender who makes it easy. It's you, building a future with savings that work just as hard as you. And it's us, working together to strengthen our community. Because at Citizens Bank, community banking means you plus us. Visit us at citizensbankwi.bank. Citizens Bank is member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Kyle Brust and Nortman's Brad Nortman here. It's the Tsunami Express Car Wash 4th of July Sales Spectacular. Get 50% off any car wash now through July 6th. That's a long-lasting clean starting at just $5. And with free vacuums, mat cleaners, and detailing tools, we make it easy to reset your ride inside and out. No stress, no mess. Just a fresh, satisfying clean that fits right into your summer plans. Again, that's 50% off any car wash only through July 6th at Tsunami Express. Find your nearest location at tsunamiexpress.com.
The open road is calling, and the ride begins at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. This July, you could burn rubber on a custom Harley-Davidson in the Fire Up Your Fantasy motorcycle giveaway. Play with your rewards card all July for entries. Thursday drawings for extra cash and reward play. Fire Up Your Fantasy, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Hey, it's Kyle Walsh. You know owning a home is one of the best investments you can make, but keeping it comfortable, energy efficient, and looking great, that takes a little extra work. But this summer, Universal Windows Direct is making it easy to finally tackle that project with an offer you can't pass up. Right now, you get to choose your offer. Pick the one that works for you. Payments as low as $99 a month or 12 months with no payments and no interest. Call 414-410-2000 or go to universalwindowsdirect.com.
It's Jason Wilde from Wilde & Tausch. Upgrade your industrial supply services with Lakeland Supply, your trusted ISO-certified partner for custom packaging, shipping supplies, janitorial, and safety supply solutions. With over 40 years of industry excellence, Lakeland Supply is a proven one-stop source with over 95% of their products made in the U.S., and they treat their customers like family. Personalized service with a national reach. That's what Lakeland Supply does. Visit lakelandsupply.com to discover how they can make your business better.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Goodbye, Gappy, or goodbye, Damian Lillard. Hello, Myles Turner. ESPN Wisconsin free agency frenzy continues. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison, ESPN Beaver Dam. I'm Alex Strouf. Josh DiMaggio running the show for us this afternoon. Excited to be joined now, I think, from the first The first tee, I think. Gabe Neitzel, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, NBA expert, joins us now. Gabe, I'm just going to give you the floor, bro. I mean, this has been quite an 18 hours for the Milwaukee Bucks. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I can't believe that they did something like this because nobody saw it coming because nobody thought anybody would be crazy enough to eat, roughly, $22 million over the course of, every year for the next 5 years. And I just don't think we give, as a fan base, John Horst enough credit, right? Like, how much as a fan base do we hear about Brian Gutekunst? Oh, he needs to go for it. Oh, how come he didn't go for it? That's all John Horst does is take these big swings. And I understand he hasn't done a good enough job in the draft. But look, they don't have draft picks anyway. Who cares if he gets draft? Like, when you're in a situation where you're trying to consistently make sure that Giannis is happy and you can be competitive, and he somehow answers, I remember when they traded for Drew Holiday. It was like, man, Drew Holiday was like that perfect fit for him. I just don't know how they can do it. And he somehow gets creative with the deal and gets the job done. When Damian Lillard was out there, it's like, man, Dame would kind of be nice. The Bucks didn't have somebody that they could really rely with the basketball in the playoffs last year. Maybe if they go out and get Dame, he gets really creative and goes and gets Dame. And look, I'm really excited for Myles Turner because he helps them accomplish their goal of getting younger. He can play next to Giannis, plays defense, can knock down open shots from the perimeter, so he's not going to clog up the paint. He's the younger version of Brook Lopez. He's going to be able to move better than Brook. And as painful as it was for me, I love Brook Lopez. As painful as it was to see him go, watching this team get younger was absolutely necessary, and it's credit to John Horst. Now, again, could this blow up in his face? Yeah, I suppose it could because you're paying $22 million a year for nobody. You're just going to have to eat that on the cap for the next 5 seasons. But it seems to me that's what was necessary in order to, get something. Like, even if Dame opts into his deal next year, are you going to have to add draft picks to whatever his contract is in order to get something of value in return the way they had to add 2 draft picks to the Pat Connaughton deal today? So, I mean, again, it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk, and I think it makes the team a lot better on the floor.
And I think it elevates them back into the championship contention conversation in the Eastern Conference, Gabe, right? I mean, you don't have to deal with Jason Tatum, who's likely going to miss all of next season with an Achilles injury. Same thing for Tyrese Halliburton, and obviously Indiana now loses Myles Turner to Milwaukee. There's still going to be good teams in the East, right? Cleveland is pretty much all back with few exceptions. Orlando's had a really nice offseason. New York's still up and coming. There's still some good teams in the Eastern Conference. But I think with this Myles Turner ad to the Bucks, all of a sudden it goes from, gap year to, wow, they're actually right back in the mix in 25-26.
Well, and depending upon, I don't think the Bucks are done yet.
I don't either.
They opened up the roster spot. They have, we have to see how all the financials work out. And as complicated as it is in the NBA to try to figure out what all the financials are, like, they still have some, if not all, of the mid-level exception remaining. So they can go out and continue to add. Look, they wanted to get younger. They want to get faster. They want to be able to keep up with Giannis. And they've been able to do that. I think part of their plan was, hey, let's get all these guys back that are around the same age as Giannis, or a little bit younger, and try to, knock down the age of this team. And hopefully we can build up the chemistry with Giannis throughout the course of the season. And again, as wide open as the East is, maybe the Bucks just make a minor move now and save some of that mid-level exception for when, the trade deadline hits and they can try to add someone the way that John Horst has been able to do over the years. And again, not every move that John Horst has made has worked out, but he is the only general manager we have that's won a championship, who's currently running a program, who's currently running an NBA or a professional team. And he has been able to add to this team when nobody thought he would be able to. And they decided it was worth it to, spend that money on Dame to be able to get the top free agents of this free agent class. And by doing that, you also made the Indiana Pacers weaker, and not just weaker for now, weaker in the future. Like, Myles Turner was a big part of what the Indiana Pacers were this past year, the year before. And Tyrese Halliburton's going to recover from that Achilles injury. He's going to be a member of the Pacers, and now they're going to have to figure out what they're doing with their big guys and who's going to be their center of the future. And so not only did you strengthen your team, you also weakened a team that's been able to knock you out of the playoffs the last couple of seasons.
Gabe, I know you got to run, so I'm just going to throw 2 names at you quick in terms of point guards that maybe they could bring in potentially who are on the open market. Let me know if it's a yes or no. Chris Paul.
No, because I'm never going to forgive him, and I don't know if Giannis will ever forgive him for the dirty foul that should have been a flagrant in the finals 4 years ago when he just pushed him in the middle of the air. So I'm out on CP3.
I think this one's more unlikely, but another name that's been floated around potentially as a point guard, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I just don't know how that fits.
I don't either.
As much as I have always loved Russell Westbrook, you need someone who can shoot better than Russell Westbrook can. I think around Giannis. If you're going to play in minutes with Giannis, now if he's just going to be a limited minutes guy off the bench where his and Giannis's minutes aren't going to cross over a ton, maybe. But, yeah, I have a hard time seeing that. Plus, both of those guys are older. It doesn't fit with this, hey, we're trying to get younger ethos that they seemingly are operating on by right now.
But two proven options is why I bring them up. Gabe Neitzel, swing them straight. We'll be listening to you tomorrow, 7 a.m. on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy right here on ESPN Milwaukee. Thanks, buddy.
Can't wait. Bucks and 6.
Bucks and 6 always. Gabe Neitzel's going to be absolutely electric tomorrow. I mean, I was with Gabe Neitzel. Stephen Watson and him were pre-recording and on the tee right as this news came through. And Josh DiMaggio is producing the show for us right now. Tweeted an audio list video of Gabe's immediate reaction to the Myles Turner news. It's on Twitter at Josh_DiMaggio. It's amazing. You got to watch it if you haven't already. Gabe is, I mean, I think it's fair to say probably the biggest Bucks fan we have at ESPN Wisconsin. And it was just electric. And then I got to talk to Steven and Gabe as the Damian Lillard news came out. And I mean, I think we're all floored because this isn't what you expected. You wanted the Bucks to create a core around Giannis that said, hey, we're legitimate title contenders once again. And I think, I keep saying 18 hours, about to be 19 hours since free agency opened. I think 18 or 19 hours ago, all of us were thinking it was still that gap year thing was probably going to happen, right? It's going to be the gap year. They're going to just let Giannis go bonkers, have a great career year, maybe win another MVP, and then hopefully 26-27 when Damian Lillard returns, and this is 19 hours ago now. Maybe they'll have another shot at a title. Well, no. John Horst takes matters into his own hands and takes swing after swing after swing. And all of a sudden, this team looks like it could be geared up for a legitimate title contention already again next year, which is really, really, really good for Milwaukee. ESPN's Tim Bontemps will join me coming up next as we break down all things Milwaukee Bucks. There's plenty more moves we've barely even talked about, but obviously the Myles Turner move and the Damian Lillard waiving are the big pieces of news right now for the Milwaukee Bucks. Tim Bontemps will break it all down with us from the Hoop Collective, senior ESPN NBA writer. Can't wait to get his national perspective on what the Bucks are doing because it's that big of a deal. Front page news on ESPN.com. Tim Bontemps next with me, Alex Strouf. It's ESPN Wisconsin's free agency frenzy right here, ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. The 2025 Delzer ESPN Milwaukee Open is back at the Bog. Tune in all day July 15th for our ESPN Milwaukee crew having fun and hitting the links. The 2025 Delzer ESPN Milwaukee Open is sponsored by Marquette Athletics, PCI Construction, Discount Liquor, Loyal Family Renovations, The Jewelry Center, and Tony Wendorf and Associates. Join in on the fun July 15th on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill. When your friend skips your favorite song on the playlist. End the friendship. Or choose chill because that song lives rent-free in your head anyway. And you planned ahead by bringing Coors Light to the party. And the sound of that ice-cold can cracking open was music to your ears already. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
You know, I couldn't stop talking about it to my family and friends. My knees are my trouble spot. But for me to tell them now that I'm doing so much better, they were amazed, and I've been amazed.
QC Kinetics Cellular Therapies. Yes, it is amazing how these non-surgical treatments deliver joint pain relief for patients like Dr. Eric Williams, a successful chiropractor.
Each week, I just started noticing that I could sleep and not have pain. I could play pickleball. I could do a CrossFit exercise routine.
QC Kinetics revitalizes your joints so you can move again. again without the pain pills or invasive surgery.
You know, I'm 60 years old and I want to stay competitive as long as I can. And QC has allowed me to do that. They did me right and really made a difference in my life.
Book your free consultation with QC Kinetics today and experience the difference for yourself.
I like to go, move, move, move.
QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
This fall, there's only one place to be, Camp Randall Stadium. Wisconsin football returns with can't-miss matchups, including Maryland, Iowa, Washington, and more. From the first touchdown to jump around and the celebration of the fifth quarter. Experience the traditions and unforgettable memories that make Wisconsin football so special. Single-game tickets are now on sale. Lock in your spot today by visiting uwbadgers.com or call 1-800-GO-BADGERS. Wisconsin football game day starts here. We'll see you at Camp Randall.
Your first time driving a stick shift. The car, sporty. Your teacher, nervous. You've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with Online Activation Zone, so you can easily shift your direct deposits from your old clunker of a bank to Associated Bank in just a few clicks. You've got this with Activation Zone from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Why is life better with American Family Insurance? Because every policy comes with something very special. A trusted agent who's there to help protect your dreams by finding the right coverage at the right price. Save up to 23% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It's a home run. But wait, is your roof ready for the
Using
big
new
league
patio
storm?
set from Steinhafels.
Steinhafels' 4th of July sale is going on now. Take 10% off store-wide, plus an extra $100 off every $999 you spend. But don't wait too long, because this sale ends soon.
Now, would you be a sweetheart and get me another lemonade? I have to stay hydrated.
Steinhafels' 4th of July sale, going on now.
The Damian Lillard era is over in Milwaukee.
Damian Lillard, by all accounts, is a good dude. He's a good teammate. He's obviously one of the top 75 players of all time, but it didn't work in Milwaukee.
Reaction continues next,
Waive
right here on
All-Star
Madison's
Damian
home of the
Lillard.
Bucks.
Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Quiet day. 19 or so hours here in Milwaukee. Nothing to talk about with senior NBA writer for ESPN Tim Bontemps. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Group of Lofts studio downtown Milwaukee. Here on ESPN Wisconsin. Tim, really appreciate the time. Let's start with the Myles Turner piece, because I think that's the one where a lot of Bucks fans went, whoa, didn't see that coming. I imagine maybe you didn't either, Tim. What's your reaction? And maybe any insight you have on the Myles Turner to Milwaukee news?
Yeah, it certainly was a big surprise. To everybody across the league. Something they already had on their bingo card. I would say it's a rather desperate gambit. I would say to make this move. Over $22 million in dead money on your cap for the next 5 years. Money you can't do anything with. That will hamper the Bucks moving forward. The Bucks still have not replaced Damian Lillard. Myles Turner is a good player. I would say he's a slight to moderate upgrade on Brook Lopez, but he's not an all-star center. He's not one of the 5 best centers in the league, and he's essentially now going to be paid $50 million over the next 4 years, which is an awful lot of money to pay for Myles Turner. And look, the Bucks are clearly doing whatever they can to keep John Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, and I respect that. On some level, it's a very admirable approach. But this is I would say this was a pretty reckless decision to do this move in the manner that they did, which is really the only way they could do it. And again, if it keeps Giannis there, totally get it, totally understand it. Hard to argue with doing that. But this is one that is probably going to have some real sticker shock in the not so distant future once the sort of the weight of that outlay for Myles Turner really starts to hit home as the years go by.
I hear you on that. Yeah, I hear you on that. And I think the Giannis piece is obviously where this all starts. You want to keep Giannis happy. You want to keep Giannis happy. You want to show him that you are attempting to compete for a championship, and that's why they take the swing on Myles Turner. And it was reported by your teammate John Sharani on ESPN. Effectively signed off on it. He wanted Myles Turner in Milwaukee. So that signals to me, Tim, and maybe I'm overthinking this one, but I view that as, okay, well, Giannis is going nowhere. He's going to be in Milwaukee because he was in the loop on this Myles Turner thing. Is that your reaction as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly expect that at least for the upcoming season, Myles Turner will certainly be in Milwaukee, but I would think Giannis Antetokounmpo will also be in Milwaukee. But yeah, I mean, look, I understand why the Bucks did it. They obviously did it to keep Giannis happy. I am not a proponent in ever waiving and stretching a player because it just leaves you so limited in what you can do in the future. And that's when you're talking about waiving a guy making $10 million, right? Let alone a guy making 12 times that or 11 times that. It's just a staggering amount of money. And the thing about having the stretch money on your books, the stretch money, anything with it. Even if they just not done anything with Dame for this year, right? At worst, you would have had a $55 million expiring contract in a year, and that would at least give you some flexibility to do some different things. But by doing this the way they did, it just makes for it makes for a fascinating story, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they look next season and where they go from here. But I would say the Bucks got slightly better than they were last year at center. They still have a lot of holes across the roster, and they paid a very heavy price to do so.
Tim Bontemps, senior NBA writer for ESPN and ESPN.com with me here on ESPN Wisconsin. Tim, I can almost hear you over the phone scratching your head. It sounds like a bit. So after hearing you say that, it leads me to ask this. With the Myles Turner move and some of the moves they've made over the last 19 or so hours in free agency for Milwaukee, where do you view them in terms of the Eastern Conference hierarchy entering next season?
No, I mean, look, I'm not scratching my head. I totally get where this came from. This is a move that you make when you don't have any other moves to make, right? That's sort of that's more what it feels like than anything. And frankly, at this point, I think the Bucks need to use their one first-round pick they can trade and attach it to Kyle Kuzma and go try to make another upgrade to this team, because when you make this move, you are all in with this team now, and so you might as well go all the way in and try to get somebody else that can help. But they're just they're a better team than they were this morning, but I'm still not sure they're a top 4 team in the East after doing this, and this has so many out-year ramifications for the team that it's just a hard thing to square. And look, again, Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the, 20 greatest players of all time, 30 greatest players of all time, 50 greatest players of all time, whatever, right? The Bucks have had 2 players like him ever. They had Kareem 50 years ago, and then they had Giannis now. So at this, I understand completely the desire and the need to try to keep him on the team and do what it takes to make him happy. But it's just put them in a position now where they really don't have any outs going forward. And this is their team, and it's not a team that's really good enough to do anything. I still don't think I would pick them to win a series next year.
Wow.
In the first round of the playoffs. And that they already had a lot of problems. They lost in 5 games last year, and that was with Damian Lillard playing in half the series, right? And Giannis playing great. So, it's one of the more fascinating moves we've seen in a long time, because it just is so completely out of left field and truly, the Luka trade was stunning because it was a stunning trade that no one saw coming. This entire transaction for a team that didn't have cap space to create cap space in the manner they did, but waiving. There'd never been a guy waive of more than $30 million on his books. Dame at 112. So to do that, to make the cap space this way, to do the transaction this way, it's honestly jaw-dropping. And, I was on First Take this morning with Brian Windhorst when this happened, and we really since then have just been trying to wrap our heads around it, because it is just one of the more remarkable transactions in recent memory, not just because of the unexpected nature of it, but because of the out-year ramifications that come along with it. And I do applaud the Bucks for having the willingness to go all in, to do whatever they can to keep this guy in Milwaukee and happy. It's admirable, but I just don't know how effective it's going to be in bringing winning basketball to the Bucks.
It's a little desperate, but it's a little bit of a big-time swing, right? To your point, to keep Giannis happy, to make sure that they are still, they still have the core around him to compete for championships. Tim Bontemps with me here on ESPN Wisconsin. Another move today that flew under the radar a little bit that we haven't had the opportunity to talk about yet on the show, Tim, is Gary Harris has agreed on a 2-year deal with Milwaukee. How do you evaluate that one?
Look, the Bucks. Outside of the Myles Turner deal, the Bucks just brought everybody back.
Yeah,
right?
brought it back a little bit, right?
Yeah, they re-signed Bobby Portis, they re-signed Kevin Porter, they re-signed Gary Trent. They did add Gary Harris. We'll see how much he has left at this point. But it just that was sort of the thing that made this so stunning. You woke up this morning thinking, all right, the Bucks are probably just going to re-sign these guys, and then, if Giannis is okay with that, that's fine. Then you maybe kick the can down the road a year and see what you can do when you have Dame as an expiring deal, and you can maybe maneuver some stuff around. And then this happens, and now their team is going to look different. But, again, Myles Turner is younger and better than Brook Lopez. There's no question about that. But he's also now getting paid 3 times as much as Brook Lopez. Probably not that big of a gap. And they're also dealing with the Bucks are now dealing with a situation where he's basically costing $50 million the next 4 years. So, to me, they essentially have the same team they had that lost to the Pacers. And, it's good to get these other guys back. They don't have really a lot of levers to pull. And so I think it's good they're able to get, it was an okay team re-signed around Giannis, but like you said before, if the goal is to compete for championships, it's just very hard to see now how the Bucks can actually get to that point with the team they put together and with the moves that they've made.
This is why national perspective is important with Tim Bontemps, because I think locally, Tim, we all view this as a very big move, a move that signals this is a team that's taking a swing for the fences and wanting to compete for championships immediately, right, this upcoming season. And I think
I do think they're trying.
Oh,
to
they
be
definitely
fair.
are. No, they definitely are.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to. I just don't know if they. I just don't know if they actually can be that competitive. But they're absolutely doing whatever they can, which as a fan I would appreciate.
Of course, right? You have to applaud John Horst for the effort, the general manager of the Bucks, but I think we're all so sucked in here in Milwaukee and Madison and Beaver Dam, where we're airing right now. I think we're all sucked into the Bucks universe, and we don't view it like you do from a national perspective, which is why I appreciate, although you might be raining on some people's parade a little bit, I appreciate the honesty and the national perspective, because I think it is important to view it as the overall, right, the 30-team league, rather than maybe just the universe we live in, which is the Milwaukee Bucks universe, right? So I do appreciate that. What domino are you from a national perspective, Tim? Which domino are you waiting on to fall now as free agency continues? We're not even 24 hours in yet.
Yeah, to be totally honest, I'm still just trying to get my head sorted around this. But the one thing that does have an impact from it is, DeAndre Ayton was a possibility to go to Milwaukee when Brook went to the Clippers, and so what's going to happen with him will be interesting. Will he go to Indiana? Will he go to the Lakers? Will he go somewhere else? And then just in general, what are the Pacers going to do in reaction to this? Obviously, they had the devastating injury to Tyrese Halliburton in Game 7 of the Finals, but this was a cheap move by the Pacers. They had there's no reason why Myles Turner should have been available to the Bucks. This is not an outlandish contract. It's a few $1 million more than the Pacers had been willing to pay. They didn't want to pay him because they didn't want to pay the tax. And, they now have lost their longest tenured player and a guy who fit perfectly with their team and was a big part of what made their team really good. And they lost him for nothing, and they lost him because they didn't want to pay any luxury tax, and they haven't paid luxury tax in 20 years. So if I'm a Pacer fan, I'm pretty disappointed to see the way this played out. And that's where I do give the Bucks credit from the standpoint that at least if you're the Bucks, you can say we're doing everything we can and we're trying as hard as we can, even if the team I don't think is really close to being a championship caliber team. Whereas the Pacers, they just lost Myles Turner over money. It's not like if the Bucks had actually offered him $45 million, right? Sure, I would understand not giving him $25 million more than he's worth having on your team. This was a fair contract for Myles Turner, a little bit more than the Naz Reid deal that was signed the other day, when Myles Turner's a better player than Naz Reid. And the Pacers let themselves get outbid to a division rival, a team they really don't like at all, that they've had a lot of battles with the last couple of years. So from that standpoint, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they react to it. And it's a reminder that at the bare minimum, you can say the Bucks are doing their best to try to field the best team they can.
Really good stuff from Tim Bontemps, senior NBA writer for ESPN and ESPN.com. Tim, really appreciate the time on such a busy day, and looking forward to seeing you and the Hoop Collective crew out in Las Vegas. I'll be out there in a couple of weeks to see you guys, so looking forward to that. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to it.
Tim Bontemps, ESPN senior writer. A lot to unpack from that. I see your YouTube comments. I see your texts. I see we've got several producers running the show for us. I saw their faces while we were talking to Tim Bontemps. Look, I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? And Tim Bontemps is one of the smartest NBA minds on the planet. That guy covers the league so closely and so well. But yeah, I think it's fair to say he just rained on our little Bucks parade there a little bit, right? I think that's a fair thing to say. So we will unpack that conversation. Also want to dive into every move the Bucks have made, because there's been a ton, and we've mentioned like 3 of them over the course of the last now 19 hours. And I also want to talk about what would be next for the Bucks. Evan Cohen will join us in a half an hour at 1:30 from ESPN Radio's on Sportsmanlike. A ton to get to in the 1 o'clock hour. Stick with us, whether you're on YouTube, you're on the ESPN Wisconsin app, you're on terrestrial radio, 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, 100.5 ESPN in Madison, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. And you know what? Let's get crazy. Let's open up the Carbless Talking text line. How you feeling, Bucks fans? Your parade a little rained on after Tim Bontemps joined us? Or are you still riding high, feeling good about this team's title contention in 25-26? 800-990-3776 is the Carbless Talking text line. Liz is more with Carbless again, 800-990-3776. Ton to unpack, ton to get into. Still got an hour to do it. Let's get after it in just a couple of minutes. It's ESPN Wisconsin's free agency frenzy. Alex Strouf with you right here, ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Get ready to say goodbye to those bland seltzers at the ballpark. Carbless is proudly Wisconsin-born, crafted by real people. A husband and wife team who wanted better cocktails in a can. They're locally made and blissfully better. Carbless offers a bold, true cocktail flavor that's made for baseball fans. Available in flavors like lime, blackberry, cranberry, and mango. Bringing the craft cocktail bar to your seat. Refreshment that matches the energy of American Family Field is Carbless. Full of flavor, no sugar, and no carbs. Just game day bliss.
Hi, I'm Brittany Miller from Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more. Custom T-shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, you name it. We can do it. Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more is family-owned and all about celebrating life's big moments. Maybe it's a milestone birthday, a celebration for your child's first goal, or that fundraising event. We are everyone's printer. No minimum orders, affordable design, and help straight from me and our team. We're the one-stop shop for all your custom needs. Start your project today at bigfrog.com/Mequon.
Hey, Drew Johnson Scott here. Build a customized renter's policy with American Family Insurance. So you can protect your tandem bike on the go. Thief! Oh, he is struggling with that two-seater. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Some exclusions may apply. Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company. 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Fisco is always there for your auto body care. When accidents happen, Fisco Auto Body on Forest Home in Franklin is there when you need them. Got a broken mirror? They'll take care of it. Dented bumper, scratch paint, Fisco Auto Body will take care of it. If there's any damage you need fixed, Fisco has you covered. Their expert workmanship is guaranteed for the life of your vehicle. So stop in for all of your auto bumps and dings. Once again, you know the line. That's Fisco.
Hey, this is Gabe Neitzel. You're listening to 94.5 ESPN, WKTI and WKTI HD, Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed Myles Turner and released All-Star Damian Lillard. This is specialty breaking news programming on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. Live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Here's Alex Strouf.
Okay, yeah, away we go. Hour number 2 of our breaking news coverage. NBA free agency frenzy right here at ESPN Wisconsin. ESPN Wisconsin app, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube. Lots to get into from Tim Bontemps from ESPN who just joined us. I politely say this because I really appreciate him taking the time on what I know is a really busy day. And this guy's very smart when it comes to the NBA. But yeah, he rained on Bucks fans' parades a little bit there. I think that would be accurate, right? I mean, he said pretty blatantly he doesn't think the Bucks got a whole lot better with the Myles Turner deal. 4 years, $107 million with the Milwaukee Bucks, the one that came out of left field. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. And he said he doesn't view them as a top 4 team in the East, which I do. I disagree with him on that. I do think this catapults the Bucks right back into the championship conversation in a conference that's pretty open. Right, Cleveland is probably still the favorite, I would guess. You know, they didn't lose a ton. Lost a couple pieces, but in terms of their core and the guys that make significant impacts, everybody's pretty much back. Boston's still going to be good without Jason Tatum. Orlando's made some nice moves. Atlanta's made some nice moves. And obviously Milwaukee has made some nice moves. I think that's your top 5 teams in the East right now. Indiana loses Tyrese Halliburton for the entirety of the season and Myles Turner. I just don't think they're a top 4 team. So I think Milwaukee is still definitely in the mix. I think Tim Bontemps, who, again, I think was really good and really provided some nice national insight. I think he undervalues Myles Turner. I think he's not as high as a lot of us are. Brook Lopez was an awesome piece for the Milwaukee Bucks, and obviously a huge part of their title run 4 years ago. But he's older, he's slower, he's more of a liability. He still has some nice stops on defense and the ability to block shots, yada, yada. But you needed to upgrade clearly, very clearly you needed to upgrade from Brook Lopez. And I think definitively, without a doubt, full-on upgrade from Brook Lopez to Myles Turner now. Again, a 4-year, $107 million deal for Myles Turner. So I hear where he's coming from. And there's still dominoes that need to fall, right? I mean, this team as it stands right now, I think you have plenty of reason to be optimistic. I think you're super impressed, as I am, with what Kevin Porter Jr. did in a short time with the Bucks last year. And he's back on a pretty cheap deal, which allows him to kind of prove it over the course of the next 2 seasons. I think there might be a player option on KPJ's deal. I mean, you bring back Gary Trent, who was really good for this team in the postseason, despite the brevity of it, right? How brief of a postseason it was for Milwaukee, losing to Indiana in the first round. But Gary Trent Jr. had some nice contributions and will likely find his way, at least as it stands right now, into the starting 5 for Milwaukee. So you have good pieces. I just don't know if you're totally sold on this as a full-blown championship team, right? Are they competing with the Houstons of the world? Are they competing with the Oklahoma Cities of the world? That remains to be seen. But I think in the Eastern Conference, this team for sure in my mind is a top 4 team. That's where I stand right now with the Myles Turner move, but I still think there are moves to be made. The Cardless Talk and Text line is open for you until 1:30. And it looks like everybody's got a reaction from Tim Bontemps. Let's get to it on the Cardless Talk and Text line. Number into the show, 800-990-3776. Again, 800-990-ESPN is the Cardless Talk and Text line. Liz is more with our friends from Cardless. Let's go to Chevegas, the beautiful city of Sheboygan. John in Sheboygan. You're on ESPN Wisconsin. What do you got, John?
This is Darren from Sheboygan.
Okay, close enough, Will. Will Summers, our producer.
Yeah.
Screw that one up. Darren.
That's all right. Well, my middle name's John, so hey, maybe he knows something.
Oh, DJ.
Yeah, so,
Darren John. Go ahead, brother.
Exactly. So I think the thing it's easy for the national guys to kind of look at each transaction individually, but I think you nailed it when you said, us Bucs fans are excited because you look at the hell we would have been in having $50 million totally dead with Lillard sitting out, and then how good is he going to be when he comes back? When you look at the great deals they were able to bring back, Portis, and Trent, and then that allows you to go get Myles Turner. I think, again, it's really easy. I think you have to look big picture. When you look at big picture, the cap hell they were about to be in, and they're still going to be suffering that a little bit, what Horst was able to do to come up with a complete roster when it looked like there was hardly anything he could do, I think is just excellent. And yeah, I also disagree. I'm not totally looking through a green lens here. It's not like, hey, we're the top team in the East now, but we're definitely a top four, and we see what an injury does to any of those other teams. You have one or two stars injured on another team, and we're right there to be competitive. Just get a top four seed, see what you can do in the playoffs.
I think that's really well said. Thanks for the call, Darren and Sheboygan, and the insight there. I like that. I'm not looking through green lenses, he says. I think we all are partially. They might be tinted green lenses, but we're all looking through green lenses because you've got one of the best two players in the world, maybe three if you consider SGA in that category with Jokic and Giannis. Right? You've got a top three player in the world, the best player undoubtedly in franchise history, and a guy that has literally evolved the city of Milwaukee. I'm not joking when I say that. Giannis is the reason for so many things in Milwaukee. So, yeah, you want to capitalize on what you got when he's here in his prime. And I think this Myles Turner move is bigger than maybe Bontemps views it, but not earth-shattering, life-changing. But I think it gives new life to this Milwaukee Bucks team. But I don't think the Bucks can be done. And, we mentioned the mid-level exception that they still have. Gabe Neitzel, I think, talked about that when he joined us in the first hour. You've still got some room to make some moves. And I still think you've got some trade assets to get rid of or move on from like they did with Pat Connaughton. I think Andre Jackson Jr. is one of those guys who fell out of the rotation last season for the head coach, Doc Rivers, where a team could be higher on him. He's really good defensively. He's speedy. He's young, right? He's only entering his third season. I think that's a guy that maybe you could move off the books and maybe have a little bit more room to work with. But as it stands right now, and this is just looking at ESPN.com, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Kuzma, Giannis, Myles Turner. That's their starting five. I feel pretty good about that. Now, when you look at the depth pieces, I actually start feeling better, right? Bobby Portis comes off the bench. Torian Prince comes off the bench. A.J. Green comes off the bench. You've got to you have him as a restricted free agent. He'll be back. It's going to happen. Right? It just feels like what's going to happen. Ryan Rollins, your backup point guard, who I think, again, last year you saw some really nice things out of him as a depth piece. So I feel good about where this team is at. Now, there's still some dominoes to fall. Again, like let's make that as clear as day. There are still some dominoes to fall. And maybe that's a Chris Paul or a Russell Westbrook or a veteran point guard to bolster either the depth or the starting lineup, depending on where you play those guys. But both nearing the age of 40. In fact, Chris Paul over the age of 40. Russell Westbrook, 38. Those are older guys. And what John Horst is signaling to us as Bucks fans is he's trying to get younger. He's trying to get a little bit more explosive, a little bit quicker, a little bit younger. And that's what they do. Brook Lopez moves on. He signs with the Los Angeles Clippers. In comes Myles Turner from Indiana. Let's get back to the calls. Cardinals Talking text line is 800-990-3776. James in Bayview. You're on ESPN Wisconsin. What's up, James?
Thank you for taking my call. The one thing that Tim said that really stood out was that he didn't see the Bucks in the top four, and I thought that comment was totally ridiculous because who would be ahead of the Bucks? Maybe Cleveland, the way I see it,
Cleveland,
but they stubbed their toe in the playoffs. They stubbed their toe in the playoffs. With Boston, I think they took a major step. Did they trade Derek White, Boston?
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, it's
and with
could
New
come down
York
the pipeline.
Knicks
They traded Drew Holiday.
And you know what? with New York Knicks, that too, Holiday, and with the Knicks still not having a coach, they have issues. I don't see the Pacers ahead of us. Maybe Atlanta, but I think that comment was totally ridiculous. And my personal opinion is John Horst is a terrific GM because at least he's making some deals out there. He's just not sitting on his hands. He's doing something. And
to James's point, I think I think he's doing a great job, right? I mean, he's taking the swings that Bucks fans are longing for. And I know Gabe Neitzel made the comment earlier comparing it to the Packers, right? These are all in swings that John Horst has consistently taken. And sure, you can knock him on his lack of draft productivity, right? He hasn't drafted studs and immediate starters and impact players. He just hasn't. Fair. Right? That's a fair knock on John Horst. But I don't think it's fair to say, hey, this guy is, to what James just said, he's not sitting on his hands. He's not waiting for something to happen. He's not waiting to catch a lucky break. He can't control injuries. I'll tell you that right up front. And yes, the Damian Lillard trade is proving to be a failure of epic proportions. We can admit that, right? I mean, you heard Tim Bontemps talk about how they're stretching the remaining $113 million of his deal. That's $22 million a year you can't do anything with. And that is certainly problematic. But what John Horst is attempting to do right now, right here, is compete for a championship tomorrow. Right? If the season started tomorrow, which obviously it doesn't, he wants the Bucks to be in title contention and in the conversation. For Tim Bontemps, it's not enough. For me, it is. I think they are a top 4 team in the East, to James's point. I think Boston will still be in the conversation despite not having Jason Tatum. And I think they will have Derek White. I think he just mixed up his names.
Yeah, he was getting rumored on draft night to be moved, but he wasn't actually moved.
I don't think they're going to move on.
No.
They had Anthony Simons in the Drew Holiday trade. They have Jaylen Brown, obviously. They feel good about some of the pieces on that Boston team. I think they'll still be in the mix. They always are. A really well-coached team. New York's going to be in the mix, just like they were this year. Cleveland will obviously be in the mix. Won the most games in the league this year. I think they'll be in the Eastern Conference. They'll be in the mix. Orlando's made some really good moves this offseason. I think you can make a case for them. So, yeah, that's 4 teams. And then you can make a case for Atlanta. That's 5 teams. But, I think the Bucks are right there. I don't think there's a huge, difference between several of those teams. I think it's kind of the Cavs and everybody else. Maybe Cavs, Knicks, everybody else. But other than that, I mean, I think the Bucks are right there in it. And, oh, by the way, who is the best player in the Eastern Conference? Just out of curiosity. Hey, Will Summers. Who's the best player in the Eastern Conference? Just curious.
Not sure.
Yeah,
tell
me. Yeah, me neither. It's a guy they're going to build a statue for. His name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that part always helps, as long as he stays healthy. Bunch of other moves we need to talk about because the Bucks have been, I think, the most active team, I would guess, in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, Sham's Twitter feed is just entirely Bucks.
Bucks. Yeah,
for a while.
There's a ton of it. So I want to just play catch up and just get through every move. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radios and Sports, going to join us at 1:30. I just kind of want to recap the last day and a half for really 4 days, because the Pat Connaughton opt-in happened. Now he's been moved. Bobby Portis is back on a new deal. So there's just a bunch of stuff I want to fly through and just make sure we're all caught up on what the Bucks have done. Because what it signals to you, what it signals to me, what it signals to everybody, is the Bucks are gearing up to compete for another championship. At least that's what they're attempting to do. Doesn't mean they definitely will be in the conversation or will be in the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals next year. But they are certainly making the moves that signal they want to be back in the title contention conversation. So let's recap some of those moves. We'll get to Evan Cohen. We'll continue to react with you on the Carbless Talk and Text line, 800-990-3776. Coming up right after this, right here, ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have waived All-Star Damian Lillard. Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on July 1st.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes!
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the New York Mets.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness, third deck.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Construction Business Group. Tune in July 1st at 6:10 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
Summertime is the time for all the big events. Weddings, milestone birthdays, even corporate events. Elevate every event with Noble Catering, a premier craft caterer in southeastern Wisconsin, preferred by over 30 venues. Noble Catering is also the exclusive caterer of Villa Terrace, an East Side event treasure. And coming in 2026, Noble's new headquarters, a 400-person event venue in the heart of Bayview called Brixton's Turn. Book them for your event at noblecateringco.com.
Monica, we've got to hand it to you.
You and the design team have outdone yourselves.
Are you talking about the One Collection?
Those rings say you are the one.
And they say it symbolically.
Describe the symbols.
Every ring in the One Collection should be presented with a special ritual.
What would that ritual be?
You pick up her left hand and you place a kiss on her ring finger.
Rick, you never told me about that part.
Then you show her the tiny red diamond, flush mounted inside the ring, that will forever be in contact with her finger.
Why is it red?
Because that's when the giver says to the one, wherever you go, my heart goes with you.
I give you this kiss. I give you my heart.
The red diamond is a secret symbol of that sacred moment.
The center diamond on the outside of the ring is for the whole world to see.
But the tiny red created diamond inside the ring is only for the two of them.
The One Collection of engagement rings is available exclusively at Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you,
visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
Forget average. At Exterior Pros, they bring the heat. They're not here to meet standards, they're here to smash them. From the first swing of the hammer to the final reveal, they're leveling up your home with every window, every shingle, and every single detail. This isn't just a remodel, it's a glow-up for your house. Built tough, built beautiful, built to turn heads. Want in? Let's go. Lock in your project now and save $3,000. Exterior Pros, where bold meets built. Trust the pros and visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274.
For general contest rules, visit ESPNWisconsinContest.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
That dog does not want to be petted.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill. When your friend skips your favorite song on the playlist. End the friendship. Or choose chill, because that song lives rent-free in your head anyway. And you planned ahead by bringing Coors Light to the party. And the sound of that ice-cold can cracking open was music to your ears already. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Kyle Wallace. Choose from payments as low as $99 a month or 12 months with no payments and no interest, plus a free in-home window and energy assessment. Restrictions apply. Call 414-410-2000.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Free agency epitomized. I mean, I think I called it a literal formality 6 minutes ago, and things have changed. It's ESPN Wisconsin's free agency frenzy. Recapping everything going on with the Milwaukee Bucks, which there is a lot going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm Alex Strouf with you from downtown Milwaukee, just up the street from Myles Turner's new home, Fiserv Forum. Will Summers is running the show for us today. Full-time Will. Running the show for us. Okay, so I wanted to recap every move. I don't think we're going to be able to do that now because something has changed with the Bucks after I called it a formality of something that I thought would get done, which is looking like no longer the case. So Chris Haynes just reported, and no, it is not about Giannis being upset. It's about something real. Chris Haynes has reported, the longtime senior NBA insider. I'm just going to read this verbatim to you, and then we will unpack. Quote, Milwaukee Bucks are rescinding the qualifying offer of promising young guard Ryan Rollins, and he will now become an unrestricted free agent, league sources tell Chris Haynes. So, what does that tell you? So, for those of you that maybe missed this, they had a qualifying offer, which means Ryan Rollins was a restricted free agent, meaning he could still seek other contracts, right? So I'm just going to throw out a random team. Let's say the Toronto Raptors made a 1-year, $2.5 million offer. These are all fake numbers. I'm just trying to explain what that means. So the Toronto Raptors offer Ryan Rollins a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. The Bucks then have the opportunity to say, yes, we will pay you that. Or they say, nope, go ahead. That's what a restricted free agent effectively means in the NBA. Now, the Bucks have gone ahead and said, never mind. Go ahead, be unrestricted, go elsewhere. So that effectively tells you that Ryan Rollins likely will not be a Buck. I'm not completely ruling it out. It just means it likely will be Ryan Rollins will play for one of the 29 other teams in the NBA next season, which is disappointing, to be real honest with you. That's my gut reaction, is I'm disappointed to hear that news because I liked what Ryan Rollins showed, and he's a great story, and I love great stories. Who doesn't love a good story, right? Two-way guy. They end up making him a full-blown NBA player towards the end of the season. Damian Lillard missed some time mid-season, and he plays some really good basketball for them. So I'm disappointed to see this. I mean, but again, I think this kind of tells you something else is coming for the Milwaukee Bucks if they go ahead and say, no more Ryan Rollins for us. Now, the idea of a point guard is an appealing one, and likely a necessary one for the Milwaukee Bucks, despite the fact that we are in kind of a positionless era in the NBA, especially a positionless guy that plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, in Giannis Antetokounmpo. He kind of plays everything. There is a likely chance, as it stands today, right this second at 1:24 p.m., that they run kind of the point forward thing that was very heavily popularized by LeBron James. He's a forward, but he brings the ball up. And obviously, Kevin Porter Jr. can play a little bit of point guard as well. If you need a true point guard, that's more KPJ, but you could run with the more point forward setup with Giannis Antetokounmpo bringing the ball up and kind of setting up things offensively. But this offer that's now been rescinded feels to me like the Bucks have another option, whether that's depth or whether that's a starter at the point guard position. Two names I floated about an hour ago that I think could certainly be in realistic territory for Milwaukee are Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, right? They're both older. Chris Paul's 40, Russell Westbrook's 38. Obviously, I'm biased because I love Russell Westbrook. He's my favorite NBA player of all time, maybe sans Giannis. But Russell Westbrook, that's my dude. Would love to see him in Milwaukee. Dude, I'd buy like every jersey possible. I just don't think it makes any sense. He doesn't fit the mold of what the Bucks are going into. And neither does Chris Paul, right? And that would be the youth movement, effectively, which we've dubbed the Packers with for years. It seems like now that's kind of the direction the Bucks are going, which is smart. Because if you look at the last two postseasons, despite some of the injuries that the Bucks dealt with in both of the first-round losses to the Indiana Pacers, the knock on the Bucks was they're old and they're slow. So I don't know that adding Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook really changes that, specifically at the point guard position. But the money would be right. The experience would be there. And maybe you need a veteran around Giannis. That's not Kyle Kuzma or obviously now Myles Turner. And you add Gary Harris as well, who's a veteran. So we will see. But that Ryan Rollins news is really interesting to me because I figured that was almost a done deal, right? He'd just be back. He'd be their backup point guard. They'd roll out KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr., Sakuda, and Ryan Rollins. But now ultimately that's not what the Bucks are going to do, which tells me something else is coming. If you're listening on terrestrial radio, I'm doing my Brian Windhorst fingers right now. What does that mean? What does that mean? Interesting from Ryan Rollins and the Milwaukee Bucks rescinding their qualifying offer on Ryan Rollins. But obviously the big news today, Myles Turner in, Damian Lillard out for the Milwaukee Bucks. What a day. Nobody saw either of those coming, I don't think. Definitely not the Damian Lillard part. Spreading $113 million over the course of the next 5 years. Wow. Over $22 million a year that you just can't use now. So John Horst showing the cojones, taking the big swing, saying, hey, man, we are still here to compete for championships in Milwaukee. As long as Giannis is here, we're competing. That's what John Horst is telling you. As long as Giannis is here, we are competing. And that's why they pulled the trigger on a guy like Myles Turner, a younger, faster, maybe even better defender, I'd argue, at this point in his career. Brook Lopez still a terrific defender, but Myles Turner, I mean, he's a dog defensively. And he's going to provide speed. He's going to provide athleticism, able to play next to Giannis. I mean, this is a really good move for the Bucks. Maybe not as sexy as the Damian Lillard trade from a few years ago, but it's a sexy move. This is a big move for the Bucks. And John Horst is capitalizing on the window of Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, which is good to see. It's absolutely what you want. Chris chimes in on the Carbless text line. No Westbrook, please. Westbrick, please. It's a fair knock at this point in his career.
For the sheer reason of excitement, I would love to watch him play, though.
Yeah, me too.
There was plenty of times this postseason where he almost lost some games for the Nuggets, but he also won them a couple games, and it was exhilarating.
Correct. I mean, yeah, it's the Russell Westbrook experience, right? I watched him all the time, especially after Durant left Oklahoma City, and it was just a roller coaster, man. But he's electric. So I'd like to see it for that case, but from a championship perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, we will continue to react to all the big Bucks news. Evan Cohen of ESPN Radio's and Sportsmanlike will join me coming up next. He is the resident NBA guy around these parts. He knocked me on Saturday for not knowing ball. We'll see if he knocks me today for not knowing ball as we dive into Myles Turner, 4-year, $107 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. He is the new Robin to Giannis's Batman in Milwaukee. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radio's on Sportsmanlike. From 5 to 7, ESPN Milwaukee, 5 to 9 on ESPN Madison and ESPN Beaver Dam. Joins me coming up next right here on ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. Time to stock up for your 4th of July picnics, parties, and celebrations. Do you need a cold half barrel? Maybe a great bottle of wine? Or hard to find liquor? We have everything you need at the lowest prices in town. It's the world's largest music festival, and you'll be there compliments of Discount Liquor. Buy any one 15-pack of 16-ounce aluminum bottles of Miller Lite, Coors Light, or Coors Banquet, or any one 12-pack of Happy Thursday Spiked Refresher, and receive one free Summerfest ticket. Visit us at 51st in Oklahoma and Milwaukee, and on Barstow in Maine in downtown Waukesha. Voted best liquor store in Milwaukee again. Have a safe and fun 4th of July weekend, and don't forget your free Summerfest ticket.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Check out all of our weekly specials at discountliquorinc.com.
Kyle Brust and Nortman's Ben Brust here for Grimal & Associates Insurance. They do what anyone with a growing family, like myself, does. Protect what matters most. Grimal & Associates specializes in coverage that's tailored exactly to you. Clients aren't just policies. They're part of their community. Personalized American Family Insurance back service, expert guidance, and genuine commitment. Grimal & Associates focuses on building trusted relationships and providing peace of mind. The same values they've had for over 30 years in the Milwaukee area. Connect with Grimal & Associates at teamgrimal.com.
Stay up to date on the Green and Gold all off season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee.
Are you going to do something today?
Yes, I am.
And what exactly might that be?
My plan is to sit here and enjoy our amazing new patio set from Steinhoffel's.
Steinhoffel's 4th of July sale is going on now. Take 10% off store-wide, plus an extra $100 off every $999 you spend. But don't wait too long because this sale ends soon.
Now, would you be a sweetheart and get me another lemonade? I have to stay hydrated.
Steinhoffel's 4th of July sale, going on now.
Transform the way you do business with Fifth Third Bank's Commercial Payments Solutions. Our market expertise and managed services streamline your entire payment process, seamlessly integrating with your existing systems to give you unparalleled control. Discover new revenue sources, save time, reduce operating costs, and boost your bottom line with our customized payment solutions. Fifth Third Bank, National Association, custom solutions built around your goals. Member FDIC.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. If there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't? I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Your state, your teams, your ESPN. The ESPN Wisconsin app. Customizable just for you. Find the ESPN Wisconsin app in the Apple or Android app stores today. Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have waived All-Star Damian Lillard. Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
ESPN Wisconsin's breaking news coverage. All things Milwaukee Bucks all the time right now. The big news. Myles Turner, the newest Milwaukee Buck. 4-year, $107 million contract. It's a big swing. And ultimately, that leads to a waiving of Damian Lillard, which they will stretch his remaining $113 million over the course of the next 5 seasons. So, that's a big swing by John Horst, the general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm Alex Strouf with you here on ESPN Wisconsin. Joining me now from ESPN Radio's Unsportsmanlike, a ball knower. You hear him on Unsportsmanlike from 5 to 7 on ESPN Milwaukee, 5 to 9, ESPN Madison, ESPN Beaver Dam. Got it right this time. Evan Cohen joins me now. Evan, Myles Turner, the newest Buck. I don't think anybody saw that one coming, man.
No, Stroufy, I thought that there was going to be something that happened over the last 24 to 48 hours, let's say, like from last night till today or maybe tomorrow. I thought the Bucks were going to do something of significance. I had a hunch on that, maybe some info, maybe tiny bit, and at no point did I think this was going to be what it was. Right? If you said to me, "Hey, what are the Bucks going to do?" I would have guesstimated in that moment that they're going to do something big of significance. What are they going to do? I would have said maybe trade Dame Lillard for 2 or 3 guys on a bad team, right? Whether Washington or I had previously stated Utah before they made some moves, or maybe even back to his old stomping grounds in Portland. And or maybe they take Kyle Kuzma and at the time, Pat Connaughton, who obviously is now with the Hornets, and traded the $31 million plus potentially a future first that they would have, I think, one left, and trade for someone. At no point did I see this happening. And I happened to be on live with Wilde and Tausch today on ESPN Wisconsin when this happened. And my first reaction, if people go back on the ESPN Wisconsin app and listen to it, I said in that moment, Strouf, this can't be it because they actually are not allowed to do it this way. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if they had 4 years at $100 million available to them, none of us would have been debating if Giannis was going to stay. We would have been saying, who are they going to use that money on? So I was sitting there saying, well, maybe it's a sign and trade. But then you're thinking to yourself, why does Indiana want stuff that Milwaukee doesn't want at that point? And then I went to the place of, well, maybe something called the disabled player exemption, which is if a player is ruled out for the entirety of the season, a team can apply for the DPE, the disabled player exemption, and see if the league grants it, you get half of the player's salary to then use on another player. So you get half a Dame's salary. The problem with that is he's then definitively done for the year and the playoffs. And if I'm not mistaken, it counts then further against the tax. So it's like you're going to pay, $3 for every dollar you're going to pay. So, well, that probably didn't make sense. So I'm thinking in this moment, how did they pull this off? Never in my thoughts at all did I think about the waive and stretch provision, which is so people understand that. And I know you've had people on explaining this, but just to be clear, when you waive a stretch a player, you take his contract, the amount of years, you multiply it by 2, and you add a year. So if you want to waive and stretch a player right now that has 5 years left on his deal, that becomes an 11-year contract. So this is wild that the Bucks did this way. It's unbelievably creative and stunning.
I mean, it's also kind of comedic that it lands on Bobby Bonilla Day, no?
Which, by the way, on a side note, Bobby Bonilla is not the only player to have all these huge numbers on Bobby Bonilla Day. And as we learned this morning on Unsportsmanlike, do you know that the Mets are not the only team paying Bobby Bonilla on Bobby Bonilla Day? The Baltimore Orioles pay him $500,000 every year as well because they had the same thing as they had with the Mets.
It's Christmas in July for Bobby
Seriously.
Bonilla. That's fascinating.
Seriously.
Evan Coe on ESPN Radio and Sportsman, like my guest here on ESPN Wisconsin. So, yeah, the Damian Lillard portion of this is the fascinating part. And we had, as you mentioned, Tim Bontemps on last hour, and he kind of said, yeah, this is the biggest one ever in NBA history in terms of the wave and stretch. $22 million a year, which indicates, Evan, and I would assume you read this the same way, John Horst doesn't give a damn, man. He's just trying to swing for another championship as long as Giannis is in Milwaukee. That's the way I read it.
So let's be clear on this. What they did today is bad business. Putting $20 million of dead cap on your books for the next 5 years is bad business. It's way worse to lose Giannis.
Bingo.
That's horrible business. So if somebody in its simplest form presented you, every Bucks fan listening in Wisconsin right now, two choices. You could either put $20 million of dead cap on your books, meaning if the salary cap is $100 million every year, the Bucks only get $80 million to work with, okay? You could put $20 million on your books for the next 5 years and keep Giannis, or not do that and lose Giannis. What would you like to do? So you have to consider this. The Milwaukee Bucks saying, we are willing for the next 5 years. This is bad business, but they could have been way worse. For the Milwaukee Bucks for the next 5 years are saying, we're okay working with less because we have 34 and you don't.
I hate to give you a compliment. I hate to give you a compliment. That's brilliant. I've been on the air for an hour and 40 minutes. But you're totally right.
There's no way. I'm not trying to question anyone's credible reporting. What I'm going to tell you from my perspective, there's no chance in hell that they make this move without knowing he's cool with it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely not. And
no
chance. No chance. The Shams Charania report is the one I'm subscribing to today, Evan, and that was effectively, yeah, he's in on it, and he wanted Myles Turner in Milwaukee. And if Giannis wants that, that tells me, A, Giannis will be in Milwaukee, and B, he understands what has to happen in order to get Myles Turner in Milwaukee, and that would be moving on from Damian Lillard, which unfortunately it is what it is. Nobody can control injuries, but that looks like an epic failure now after 2 years because you have to move on from Damian Lillard to get Myles Turner.
Strouf, I'm not sure about that. So
how are you not sure about it, though? It's without a doubt what it is.
Let's talk about intention and result, okay, in this case.
Sure.
I believe the intention of getting Drew Holiday was the right move. The result was unbelievable. I think the intention of getting Damian Lillard was absolutely right. Yep. The result was not.
Yes.
The intention of getting Myles Turner was absolutely right. The result to be determined. We don't know yet. But I don't know, unlike Drew giving up a ton of picks to New Orleans, unlike Dame giving up Drew, I don't know that the judgment of the Myles Turner acquisition and the subsequent $20 million of dead cap plus over the next 5 years should be judged on whether or not they win another title. I think it should be judged on how many more years Giannis is on the Bucks. That's the way you judge this. I think it's a different way of judging it than previous acquisitions. Because if Giannis fulfills this contract and signs another one, you have won another championship, whether you actually hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy or not. The Milwaukee Bucks are so relevant and so important. Are they the Packers? No, nobody's the Packers. We understand that, right? Yeah. We totally get that. But I lived in Wisconsin as a UW grad for 4 years, worked there for another half a year. If the Bucks aren't good or they don't have star power, they quickly fall out of conversation. Let's just be real about that. They're an awesome organization. They're unbelievably creative. I'm probably, a little teaser here, tomorrow on First Take, going to be making this big argument that I believe the Milwaukee Bucks have done more for their star player than maybe anyone in the NBA has done for any star player. They have moved, mountains to make sure that he is happy and has great players around him. I don't think that this next move should be judged based on a title. I think it should be judged on if they can keep him.
Can it be judged on both, though? Because that's where my head goes.
Of course, but I don't think, Strouf, we're up to that part yet. I think we are up to the point of keep him. Then now that you're like a year or two into keeping him, then we could retroactively say, well, you didn't win a title, or you should win a title, or this was a bad move. They should have there is a chance. There is a chance, hindsight 2020, that we look back at today and saying this is to say, let me rephrase this. There's a chance we look back at today, if it doesn't work out, and say, while doing the right thing, it ended up being the wrong thing, and they should have just kept Dame, not gone for Turner, traded Giannis, let the Dame contract play itself out, or let him opt out at the end of the year and replenish this whole thing. We could look back at it and say it in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. No question. In the moment, when everyone thinks Miami, Golden State, Dallas, New York, all these teams are kind of saving up to get Giannis, all of them have to change course today because they ain't getting Giannis.
That's true. That's a very good point. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radio's on Sportsmanlike with me, Alex Strouf here on ESPN Wisconsin, as we react to all the Bucks news over the course of the last 2 days or so, but really the last 19 and a half hours. Absolutely bonkers what the general manager, John Horst, has been up to the last, since free agency opened at 6 o'clock last night. 5 o'clock last night, 6 o'clock Eastern, where Evan is. Evan, I've asked everybody that's joined me this because I think it's interesting, and Tim Bontemps probably raining on Bucks fans' parade today, as he says this doesn't elevate them to a top 4 team in the East. You're a Miami Heat fan, so obviously you have a good pulse on Miami and everything Eastern Conference. After the Myles Turner move, where do you view the Bucks in terms of the hierarchy in the Eastern Conference entering next season?
Okay, so I think at this moment, because I think there's more work to be done, obviously,
Agreed.
I think you have to put the Knicks above them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to put the Cavs above them. I think you will consider putting the Hawks, Magic, and Pistons above them. Tim will probably put, if I know, I didn't hear it, but I mean, I was with Tim on Sunday night hosting, and we spend a lot of time together now. He believes still in Philadelphia if they're healthy, but I think they're closer to top 4, top 5 than they were a day ago.
Yeah.
About you?
I absolutely do. Yeah, I agree with every team you listed. Those are the teams I keep going back to. But I think it's probably Cavs, Knicks, and then a cluster of a bunch of other teams, right? All the ones you listed.
I think that yes, Cavs and Knicks should be 1 and 2, and then I think that if we're talking to somebody in Orlando right now, they're going to make a case why Orlando is 3.
Sure,
Atlanta,
but what I would say to them, Evan, is we are talking about the most superstar-driven league in American sports, and the best superstar in the Eastern Conference plays in Milwaukee, and I think that gives them the benefit of that. That's what I would say.
Well, okay, but here's the thing that I would ask you. Are we talking about who's going to finish with the best records or who has the best chance of going to the finals? Because those are two different things to me. Like, I think Detroit and Atlanta could finish with a better record than Milwaukee. I think in a big playoff series, I would pick Milwaukee. Milwaukee's biggest nemesis is no longer in the mix in Indiana because they're without their point guard and center and Halliburton and Turner is on the Bucks. Oddly enough, I think what this gives the Milwaukee Bucks and Myles Turner is consistently a floor that is higher for a longer period of time. But I think that if a healthy Dame ever was in the mix, the ceiling could potentially be higher. And that's why I think they still have moves to be made here, because I do wonder if they're going to consider trading Kyle Kuzma for someone, if they can get anything for him. I do wonder if they're holding that pick back, like the one that they would not obviously give, because my assumption would be if they offered a team Dame Lillard plus a first rounder, a team would be interested in taking him, and you'd get 2 or 3 guys in return. You just would not get Myles Turner. So their decision making was hold on to the first to see if you can get the team better, and probably use Kuzma by way of doing that, and maybe see if there's some other guys that pop free, right? I mean, for those who are looking at this situation, how many teams thought Dame Lillard would pop free today? None of them.
Right.
Not that he could play this year, but I'm sure there are teams. I mean, I can give you a guy right now, and you're going to laugh, but there's definitely a shot at some point. I could see Chris Middleton getting bought out. Not that he solves your issues. I think you need a point guard, but you get what I'm saying. There are guys now. If players around the league, are all of the belief that Giannis is there and he's not going anywhere, the Bucks as a free agent destination, as an ask to get traded to, as a getting bought out, am I interested in, becomes a higher chance of an option for those teams than they were a day ago. Because now everyone's going to be of the assumption Giannis is staying.
100%. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radios and Sportsmanlike. Evan, always appreciate talking a little ball with you. We'll be listening to you beginning at 5 a.m. across ESPN Wisconsin tomorrow. Thanks, brother.
I got First Take tomorrow and Thursday as well, so make sure you listen to that. What happened to Brust? Brust left me? Brust didn't want to be on?
Brust is out at Tsunami Express in New Berlin, brand new location for Kyle Brust and Nortman. Wonderfully produced program, might I add, which starts in 13 minutes, so he had to leave.
Yeah, I don't agree with that last part. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
See ya.
The great Evan Cohen, ESPN Radios and Sportsmanlike. The beautiful part about him is he was really locked in on all the news. He didn't want to take a shot at me. He waited until the very end. That's well done by him. That's a pro's pro right there. You can hear him on Sportsmanlike beginning at 5 a.m. tomorrow, and you can see him on First Take beginning at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Central Time. Guy's a big shot now. Glad he could still make time for me. Appreciate that from the great Evan Cohen. We'll wrap up this breaking news edition of the program, get you into Kyle, Brust, and Nortman, which starts at 2 o'clock, as I mentioned, from Tsunami Express in New Berlin, brand new location. And I'm gonna ponder what's next for the Bucks, because as I mentioned, I think the Ryan Rollins thing either tells me A, the price going at Ryan Rollins was too high, or B, something's cooking in terms of the point guard department. I like to choose the latter because I'm an optimist. My glass is always half full. My name is Alex Strouf. We wrap up the program right after this on ESPN Wisconsin.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have waived All-Star Damian Lillard. Stay up to date on the move right here on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. You really want a summer of entertainment?
My job to win a World Series is my job to provide a summer of entertainment.
Be careful what you wish for.
Struck him out looking. Ball game over. It's a grand slam. Dives. He caught it. Struck him out looking. Oh, my goodness. Christian Yelich. Mizorowski. Sal Freeling. Trevor McGill.
Everything Brew Crew lives right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
The Black Friday and July event from Dell Technologies is here with great offers on trusted technology. You'll also discover huge deals on new AI-ready laptops like the Dell 14 Plus featuring Intel Core Ultra processors starting at $699.99. Save on top accessories, plus enjoy fast, free shipping and other benefits. Upgrade today by visiting Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
With 18 unforgettable holes on 250 acres of natural private land, the Bog provides the ultimate golf experience. To book your next tee time, call 262-284-7075 or visit golfthebog.com. Enjoy golf. Enjoy the Bog.
This is Kyle, Brust, and Nortman's Brad Nortman. You hear me talk about Carbless and their refreshing flavors all the time. One of my favorites is watermelon, and Carbless just dropped the Watermelon Vodka Cocktail 4-pack. Perfect for chilling, grilling, or game day thrills. You know the drill. Zero sugar, unlimited flavor. Enjoy clean, crisp refreshment without the guilt. That's what Carbless does. Find the new Watermelon 4-packs wherever you get your Carbless. Crack open the taste of summer and get your bliss on.
Here's to experiencing it all this summer in Wisconsin. Every deliciously cheesy, rockin', magical, fireworks-filled, festival-loving moment. There's Cheese Curd Fest in Ellsworth, Strawberry Fest in Cedarburg, Festival of the Arts in Stevens Point, and the Renaissance Fair in Bristol, Honor the Earth Powwow in Hayward, Mile of Music in Appleton, Venetian Fest, Bratfest, Summerfest. So many fests for your whole crew. Find them all at TravelWisconsin.com. Sponsored by Travel Wisconsin.
At Tony Wendorf & Associates First Weber Real Estate Services, we do more than close deals. We serve with gratitude and faith-filled purpose. We have sold over $300 million in real estate since 2020, and we're just getting started. What sets us apart? We care. Even if we're not your agent, we'll still help. That's the kind of stewardship the community deserves. If you're buying or selling across southeastern Wisconsin, let us earn your trust. I'm Tony Wendorf, and I want to create your red carpet experience. Contact us at wendorfteam.firstweber.com.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
My overall experience with Gruber Law Offices has been phenomenal.
The treatment was excellent.
They will be supportive of you. They will listen to you.
It was a great experience knowing that I had people to help me.
I know I could count on them to do what I needed to get done.
Experience with Gruber was great.
They gave me my life back.
It was amazing.
He gets results.
We know how to win. If you've been injured, call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Gruber Law Offices had my best interests at heart.
Breaking news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Bucks have signed free agent center Myles Turner to a 4-year deal. Stay up to date on the move right here. 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
ESPN Wisconsin breaking news coverage of all things Milwaukee Bucks. I'm Alex Strouf with you for a few more minutes. It's been a really fun 2 hours, and we've had some really smart guys on the program to break it down with me. I would never refer to myself as a brilliant individual. I think I know how to do my job, by all means, but I would never refer to myself as a brilliant individual. The line Evan Cohen from ESPN Radio's Unsportsmanlike just dropped was the best line we've heard all 2 hours. And that was, what the Bucks did today was bad business. They waived a guy with $113 million left on his deal and stretched it 5 years. That's $22+ million a year that you can't do anything with. That's bad business. He's right on that. But then he followed that up with, if they were to lose Giannis, that's awful business. Spot on from Evan Cohen of ESPN Radio's and Sportsmanlike and ESPN's First Take the next couple of days. I think that's pretty much a summation of what we've talked about the last 2 hours. The Bucks, and specifically general manager John Horst, who I probably haven't given enough credit to and want to give more credit to over the course of the last 2 hours. Him taking the Myles Turner swing today, amongst a couple of other moves that should be applauded, right? Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, and the other small moves that he's made should all be acknowledged as really good moves. But the Myles Turner move, and to move on from Damian Lillard, and to say, hey, we'd still like to compete for championships here in Milwaukee, needs to be applauded. Because why you take a swing on Myles Turner? Well, it's to keep Giannis happy. And as long as Giannis is on the Bucks roster, you're still a playoff team at minimum. You still have the best player in the Eastern Conference. And I think you still have a puncher's chance at contending for a championship. So adding a guy like Myles Turner to the mix, who by all means isn't the best center in the NBA, but he's a good center. He's a really good defender. It adds some youth. It adds speed. It adds a different dimension to this Bucks team that you lost as Brook Lopez aged. And Brook Lopez, by all means, thank you for everything you did, right? He was a huge part of bringing the title to Milwaukee in 2021. Same thing with Pat Connaughton, who was traded to Charlotte today with 2 second-round picks for Vasilija Micic, who's likely going to play overseas, right? So you're just saving some money by moving on from Pat Connaughton, who had a $9.5 million contract for this year. But Pat Connaughton did a bunch of great things for this Bucks team. So props to him, thanks to him. I mean, you're down to Bobby and Giannis from that championship team. You move on from Chris Middleton, obviously last season, trading him for Kyle Kuzma. There's more coming. I don't think I can state it any clearer for that. I don't know if they're huge moves for the Milwaukee Bucks, but there is more coming because this roster isn't filled out yet. Now, could there be a play of bringing back a Thanasis? Yeah, I hope so, honestly. He's the most valuable 12th man in the NBA. But I still think they're looking for a point guard. And my gut tells me the ones that make the most sense are Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, though I think both of those are unlikely. They're certainly on the table. Never say never, right? Just like Myles Turner, never say never when it comes to what the Milwaukee Bucks could do over the course here of the next couple hours, couple days, couple minutes, for all we know. There's more coming. And they rescinded the qualifying offer on Ryan Rollins, which tells you maybe they're making a move at point guard or point forward Giannis. Exciting times. Myles Turner, the newest Milwaukee Buck. 4 years, $107 million. They've got the Brook Lopez upgrade. How significant is it? Time will tell. That will do it for our breaking news coverage. Big thanks to Ben Brust, Tim Bontemps, Gabe Neitzel, Evan Cohen, who all joined me throughout. Big thanks to Josh DiMaggio and Will Summers for producing the program. That will do it for us. Kyle Brust and Nortman is coming up next. With Ben Brust, Kyle Wallace, Brad Nortman, live from Tsunami Express in New Berlin. They will be with you in 2 short minutes. Thanks for hanging with us. Peace.
Hey, this is Brad Nortman, here to tell you about my friends at Bank 5-9. Everywhere I go throughout the area, I see Bank 5-9, and it's no wonder why. Not only do they have 14 branch locations, but their employees spend nearly 9